Yes, Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country, and good morning to our West Coast listeners. Welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. For the next 3 hours, you can join the conversation and be heard nationwide, every state and every region of the country and abroad. All you have to do is call us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. 97, or you can call on our message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Well, a lot to talk about today. Let me start by saying, I just held a press conference in Harlem at the House of Justice. I see that the Mayor Rodney Jones, he's always on the case. I can always count on him to be in the right spot there. He watched the press conference. I just had with Attorney Ben Crump and 6 families at the House of Justice. And there have been numerous deaths around the Legionnaires breakout that happened in the last administration by contractors in Harlem. And a year ago, I had said that National Action Network is going to stand with the attorneys, Ben Crump, and with the victims of the family. 6 people died in Harlem from them not taking the precautions on some of the construction sites they were doing between Harlem Hospital and another site. And I see all of this coverage about the East Side where they had dealt with some settlement ignoring Harlem. So I do what we do. We said, wait a minute, y'all can't get away with this. You got to come to Harlem. And I called on the city and them to deal with settling for these families. The families were there. So thank you for watching, Mayor Rodney Jones. And I'm going to stay on the case. We don't get in cases and leave. And those families deserve the same attention and the same remuneration. And again, National Action Network won't get a dime. Don't ask for a dime. But this is what we do. Martise Chisholm, good afternoon from the NAN chapter in Memphis. Martise is something else. She's active and proactive and energetic, and I appreciate her so much. Thank you so much. Jennifer Jones is on the message board saying, watching from Birmingham, Alabama. And we have several buses from Alabama coming to the march. I was going over the March review as we have it now. I was going over it with while I was at the House of Justice with our team, and we got 6 Alabama buses coming, and that's great. That's the home state of my mother, and she's buried in Dothan, Alabama. Was born and raised in Abbeville, right next door to Dothan. So Alabama is a special place in my heart, and lot going on. Let's talk about it all. I was personally offended, not just generally offended, not just politically offended, but personally offended when I was told about how an anonymous complaint had been filed against the mother of Nolan Wells, saying that she should lose her job at the Mississippi Board of Nursing because they filed a case saying because of her conduct in questioning what happened to her son and dealing with racism. Well, first of all, and I'm trying to say this in a way that will not give way to my impulse to really just go off on them. So you're telling me that Christine Wells Wandersley has an 18-year-old son that goes out on the 4th of July, he and 3 others, and he ends up dead, they end up alive with his cell phone, with his car keys, and never tell the parents until they track them down. They're all white, he's black. She can't get answers. She reached out for a civil rights attorney and civil rights organization. Ben Crump and National Action Network and I get involved. Now the National Urban League and the NAACP and other groups are supporting them. All we have said is we want the truth. I put up $50,000 from National Action Network saying we give a reward to anybody that can come forward with truth that leads to an arrest and conviction. Tyler Perry, the director, actor, entrepreneur, matched 50. Then Terrell Owens. How is that conduct unbecoming a nurse? I wouldn't want a nurse that I would want to be sensitive to whatever maladies, infirmities that they were dealing with me, that did not care about the unexplained death of her own son. But this is how they see us. Some people see us. I'll say that. I'm not saying everybody. But some people, like we are not human, that how dare we show compassion and concern and emotion for our offspring. That's how they see us. We're just little higher than animals. And animals just, animals die and all of that. I don't even know if that's true, because I've seen some animals sympathize with another animal and their families hurt. This is the level of insensitivity and racial arrogance we have in this country. That's why I'm still out here. That's why I am marching August 28th. These people of a certain mindset, I'm not talking about everybody of a certain race, I'm talking about of a mindset and a politic, think that we are expendable and that we should not be treated in the same way others are treated. They can feel, they can close the whole country down if something happened to them, but we shouldn't even ask a question. That bothers me. Then secondly, I had to get that off my chest first. I see where the Senate committee, which is, of course, the majority is Republican, they vote to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress for pleading the Fifth during his hearing last week. Senate Republicans vote to hold Fauci, contempt of Congress, after he repeatedly invoked his Fifth Amendment right and declined to answer questions during a contentious hearing about his leadership during COVID-19 pandemic. Committee Chair Rand Paul argued that Fauci's preemptive pardon from the former president removed his ability to claim self-incrimination protections. They also alleged that Fauci may have lied to Congress or destroyed records. Democrats, legal experts, and Senator Gary Peters warned that the contempt vote sets a dangerous precedent by punishing Fauci for invoking Fifth Amendment rights. And of course, Peters called the process rushed and one-sided, saying it would discourage future witnesses from cooperating with Congress while producing no answers. The resolution could go to the Justice Department or the full Senate, but any criminal case still would require a grand jury indictment. So let me get this right. Fauci goes before the Senate subcommittee. Rand Paul's already said that he considered everything that Fauci did was wrong with COVID, even though the president said it wasn't that serious. Take bleach. Fauci, rather than dig himself into some technicality, took the field. And you gonna call him, put him in contempt. Yeah, okay. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Shopton. 1-877-532-5797. We'll be right back.
Keeping it real. I want to turn the floor over to you, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, President Dr. Kimber, and to all of you on the board. I wanted to personally make this appeal from National Action Network and Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, that we've been moving around the country organizing to deal with the question of redistricting when they have used the Supreme Court now to redraw lines that will in many ways break up majority black voting districts. It means that they dilute the strength of our community. It will cost probably 19 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. But as important, if not more important, it will not address the needs of those constituents because they don't have a block vote to say we're going to put in somebody that wants to do what is right for us or not. And that does not necessarily all the time mean a black person, but it gives them power. In Memphis, Tennessee, the majority black district congressman supported and reelected several times by the blacks there was a white man named Cohen. So we see this as an undoing of the Voting Rights Act of 65 and the Civil Rights Act of 64. So on August 28th, we've asked people from around the country to join us in Washington, D.C. for a mass march. We've had some marches and rallies in Mississippi, some in Montgomery and Selma, but we need a national march led by the clergy, led by the faith leaders, like it was in the 60s, that will say it is a moral outrage that we would, in a time like this, disenfranchise wholesale black voters by repealing the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and by turning the time back. We've heard from a lot of groups, but we need this to be church-led. National Action Network is appealing to you, the president. Reverend Dr. Boise Kimber has been on our board for years and knows this well, and the many of you that are on the board. But we need to send a national message in a peaceful, nonviolent gathering led by the clergy, along with Dr. King's son, and along with his daughter-in-law, and along with other leaders. But it's time to dramatize it. We see the No Kings March. We see everybody out there rallying. Where's our voice when we're the ones being disenfranchised? We're the ones being attacked. And I think that if we would stand up, the people will step up because the people understand the gravity of the hour. And I think that we are called upon at this point in history to do what those leaders of the black church did before our time and in our childhood. So I thank you, President Kimball, for giving me an opportunity to make the appeal to the board itself. You have the information. We're going to have buses from all over the country. Those churches that have buses will give information. Those that don't, we're willing to help supply them. But we need to show a big number right in the nation's capital. History should not say they stripped us of everything and there was not a national response led by the black church. Thank you very much for these few minutes.
I've been in every Essence Festival since 1995. I came that year with my mentor and we spoke. Well, he died in February this year, but I want to continue what he taught us, because even when times look bad, even when they look dark, I remember when my mentor taught me, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He said, keep hope alive. Even if you can't figure it out, keep hope alive. Even if it doesn't look like you can make it, keep hope alive. In memory of Jesse Jackson, say that with me tonight. Let him know on July 4th from New Orleans, keep hope alive. 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 Thank you, God.
It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you're qualified and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much. I love you very much.
Is a house of justice.
First, I want to thank you personally for writing a foreword to this book, Reverend. I wanted to write a book that was different from the many books that have been written about my dad, which about
talk about when your father was here, King. Me, Jesse. When he came to go speak at the UN, he said, I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo.
With respect to black culture, there is one person who has been doing this for decades. He has been supporting our communities. He's been fighting for our communities in the trenches. He's a fighter, he's a civil rights icon, and he's a visionary. The Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you. Right now in Washington, D.C., they're having on the National Mall the celebration of July 4th. But what they will not talk about is on July 4th, 1776, black people were slaves in this country. We were not part of the Declaration of Independence. But we celebrate tonight because 250 years later, we never stopped fighting, we never backed down, we took nothing and made something happen. If you want to celebrate something,
I had to get that off my chest about messing with Nolan Wells' mother. And she's strong, she's standing strong, but she ought not have to be, as she still seeks painfully for answers to what happened to her son. She should not have to go through this harassment that her job may be at stake. It is, I guess, I say I don't apologize for getting upset when these things happen, because I guess the minute they no longer matter to me, I should get off the public stage, because then it's all performance. It matters to me. It matters to me. And we must keep fighting no matter what. But I think we need to just know what we know. Akeem Smith is texting me saying, NBC News reporting Reverend Sharpton, Trump not planning to oust Pirro despite saying she made a mistake on reflecting pool case. Interesting, Akeem. I guess they go way back. She was the Westchester County, New York district attorney. I dealt with her on several police cases up there. Chairman of our board of National Action Network, Reverend W. Franklin Richardson, pastors the largest congregation, black or white, in Mount Vernon, which is the center of that area. And so I know he dealt with her. And she's a right-winger. And she's probably done a lot of stuff for him and with him down through the years, so maybe he's being loyal to her. We'll see. Frank Ramsey's writing on the message board, keep hope alive. Yes, sir, we must keep hope most definitely alive. Amen and amen. Not Frank Ramsey, fake name, but from Pastor Homer Swan of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Yes, sir, Reverend Al Sharpton. Let's keep hope alive. Okay. So, Reverend Swan, I appreciate you. Keep me in your prayers. There's still, well, not still, there's only a day after the election of El Said getting the Democratic nomination for the Senate seat of Gary Peters, who's not run again in Michigan. And I think that we're getting ready to see a master class in how you deal with this electoral cycle under Trump, but at the same time holding the Democratic Party accountable. And I don't know how history will judge how it was handled, good or bad. We'll see in November whether it was a mistake or a step in progress by how we handled it. What do I mean by that? El Said won. He's very progressive. He's not in DSA, but he's progressive. Bernie Sanders and all of those came in and campaigned for him, and Ayanna Pressley and all. The question now is, can they unite the party and that the moderates be as mature as the progressives have been, that when they lose a primary, they go along and support anyway. Just credit Bernie Sanders supported Biden when he lost the primary. And I think that history will judge us by could we handle a win in a mature way that are progressive, and can the black community hold accountable progressives the same way they hold accountable the quote establishment or the moderates? Or are we going to let progressives not deal with the issues of racism? I say, and I said it a couple of times, a couple of shows yesterday that I was guest on, affordability is absolutely the concern of the hour, but let us not act like affordability is the same for blacks as it is for whites. The medium income level of blacks is different. Home ownership level is different. It is not the same thing. Yes, we must argue about affordability, and we must argue about racial inequality in the affordability question. And history will determine how we handle this hour. I tell staff around here at National Action Network all the time. They do a lot of studies. We do our symposiums and forums around the issues of political African American history, and they talk about various visiting teachers, professors, teach, some of the people that come, about everything in black leadership from Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman till now. And one professor said something one night, and I just happened to be there because usually I let Huddle do its thing, history meetings do their thing. I don't necessarily go because I don't want people to feel like I'm breathing down their back. And the guy said, yeah, I'm glad Reverend Sharpton's in the room. He said, because I believe that, this was an academic from Columbia. He said, because I believe Reverend Sharpton will be in Black history, the stuff he did, and he outlined some of the stuff. And he said, but he's got a unique dilemma in history. And I'm standing there saying, okay, where's this going? And I said, I don't know if I'm going to like this one or not. It's flattering. He said I'm going to be in history, but it's just to set me up. He says, Reverend Sharpton will go down in history as the first major civil rights leader that had to govern, had to deal with a sitting black president, and had to protect him and challenge him at the same time. He said, no other black civil rights leader, major in history, had that dilemma. How do you protect Obama from the racists, but also challenge him about Trayvon Martin and the police killing Ferguson and Eric Garner? And I said to myself, he's right. I did it the best way I could. I couldn't follow no blueprint. It never happened before. and history will say whether we did it right. Let's take a break. Be right back. Let's open up the phones. 1-877-532-5797. Shopton. Be right back. I'm surprised to see you here.
Kathy Burns.
Yeah, Kathy.
How are you?
And my lovely wife, Lisa.
It is such a pleasure to be here with Reverend Sharpton and this entire congregation on Juneteenth weekend to not only celebrate freedom, but recognize the work that is still to be done to ensure that that freedom is within the grasp of each and every New Yorker who has helped to build this city. Thank you for having me as always.
It is really a intersection of both emotions, because when I was 11 or 12 years old, so I watched the news a lot and I became enthralled with the image of Adam Clayton Powell. I was around 11 and I convinced my mother to let me come up to this church to see Adam Clayton Powell. And in those days, people in Brooklyn used to say it's dangerous to go to Harlem. And folk in Harlem say it's dangerous to go to Brooklyn. Now, to 135th Street, and I came, sat right back there, and Adam Clayton Powell walked down this platform. And I remember after the church, in those days, Johnson, the pastor's study was right inside with the plexiglass, and I knocked on the door and I told the secretary I wanted to meet Reverend Powell. She looked down this little 11-year-old boy. She said, "Really?" She said, "Who did I say?" I said, "Reverend Al Sharpton."
But Paul means dignity. Means we're gonna walk side by side with you, or through you. We're gonna be with dignity and integrity. We don't want any more than you have, and we're not gonna accept any less than you have. That's my fella.
I remember I was 12 years old. I was a boy preacher in the Church of God in Christ. Bishop Sheard knew my bishop, Bishop Washington. Bishop Washington, my mother was concerned I was getting into politics. They brought us to Reverend William Jones. His daughter's traveling with us. And Reverend Jones introduced me to Jesse Jackson. I became his youth director in New York at 13. I liked
Reverend Jackson because he was a little hipper than the older preachers. He was 27, I was 13 by the time I became youth director. So he was like a father figure to me. When I got about 40, he said, quit calling me father, call me big brother. We went to the car center, and James Meeks and Jesse Jr. and I had dinner with him that night. And that's when he said to us, Al, Meeks, Jesse Jr., y'all are my disciples. And we said, disciples? And for years we joked each other. I'd come in the room and Junior said, here's disciple number one. But discipleship meant you carried forth the vision. The next day, he took me on the ferry to Goree Island, Mrs. Jackson. On Goree Island, he showed me where the slave camps were. And I will never forget, he said, Al, you see what that artifact is? I said, what's that? He said, they call it the door of no return. When you go through that door, you either made it to America to slavery, or you died in the Atlantic. The door of no return. But I talked to him about 3 years ago, and I reminded him, I said, remember when you brought me to the door of no return? He said, yeah. I said, well, we did return. We returned the President of the United States, Barack Obama. We returned the Vice President, Kamala Harris. We returned with businessmen. They thought they sent us as slaves. We came back as global liberators. The problem is that too many of us did not join the movements that sponsored us. And there was a breakout in 2024 called Negro Amnesia, where you forgot where you came from and forgot how you got where you got. Therefore, they're trying to take back everything you had.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled, that you didn't even see. Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to the message board at nationalactionnetwork.net. And I see Deborah Fleming saying, I was listening to James Tallarico's speech. He's in Texas, very powerful speech. Yeah, he's impressive, very impressive. I was talking with one of the state legislatures last night, Royce West, about how they're dealing with get out the vote plans in Texas. And of course, Commissioner Rodney Ellis is on our National Action Network board, as well as Reverend Ralph West and Reverend Terry Anderson. I have 3 national board members in Texas. A lot of action going there. I'll be part of the MS Now host that will go down to Texas in in September, and all of it to try to generate people to come out and vote whoever they're gonna vote for. All right, let me say by way of announcements, I am on the phones, and I'm personally making sure we have the right people at the right level on this weekend's Keeping It Real I'm sorry, this weekend's Politics Nation. I'm doing so many shows, I'm colliding them together. Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. I want to make sure we had the right guy. I already got one or two very good ones, but I want you to turn in both nights. I'm going to really deal with what these primaries mean, not just the politics of Michigan, progressive against moderate, but what does it mean in terms of November? Can we take down senators, governors, and win the House so that Hakeem Jeffries can be Speaker? I'm going to have some key electeds in on that and some political analysts on that. I'm also going to deal with how we're ignoring some of the criminal justice cases. There's still not enough attention on the killing of this young man with mental health conditions, situations, in Madison, Wisconsin. It's kind of 1 or 2 days went national news. I understand they're still marching locally. But these policemen in videotape just stood over and shot this guy. Saying where he had a knife. You've had people with bombs you didn't shoot. So I'm going to deal with that this weekend and other issues on Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. And then, of course, you in the New York, New Jersey, and vicinity area watch, don't watch, come and be part of the National Action Network Saturday Action rallies at the House of Justice on 124th and Morningside. The official address is 6 Hancock Place, but for you that know the area, it's really right there at 124th and Morningside. I just left there with the Legionnaires press conference. Make sure you come, though, if you can. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., I'll be there looking for you. Try to come early so you can get a good seat. If you're not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television or NationalActionNetwork.net or YouTube/NAN or AME Zion Network. And lastly, I'm still letting people know the phones was ringing off the hook when I was at the House of Justice. People are signing up for the march, but we can't have too many. We are taking too much quietly. They have neutered our voting rights. And we have said nothing on a national level in Washington with a mass gathering. Just neutered it, just killed it all. And we said, oh man, that ain't no good. But what did we stand up and say? They will, I read this book that is #1 the last couple of weeks in New York Times bestseller, Maggie Haberman. I had her on my show. She writes for New York Times, wrote a book called Regime Change. And it's an excellent book. Well, her and her co-author really went into the White House, how it operates, what Trump does, what he doesn't do, and they have some firsthand knowledge and even interview Trump himself. These people are not just rambling around. They intentionally are going back at voting rights and civil rights. And they monitor everything. If you got a bullhorn on a corner, they know about it. So if we come with the right numbers, don't you know the judges and the White House and all will have to say, well, wait a minute, we're never going to change, but we may have to be slowed our pace because these people are concerned. When we showed up all over the world and brought tens of thousands to Washington in the middle of a pandemic with George Floyd, They left that case alone, run fast. Those cops are in jail right now. If there had not been those movements, the local DA would have handled that case. I don't think he would have got convictions. It was only forcing that to where Keith Ellison became the prosecutor, and we got it. And so I want y'all to sign up at nationalactionnetwork.net right now, if you haven't signed up, nationalactionnetwork.net, or call the toll-free number at 1-877-626-4651. Say, I want to come to the march. Where's a bus near me? I want to help organize a bus. How do I go about it? Or put me down. I'm flying in. I need the information of where to go. All right. I see Joanne Kemp saying Kyle Rittenhouse, many of y'all remember that case, had his rifle the entire time. When cops approached, he even touched his rifle. They let him drive home, and then he surrendered. And he killed people. That's a great point to bring up. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's start with Reverend Johnson in Virginia. Reverend Johnson, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton. Is Reverend Johnson there?
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Hello?
Good afternoon, Rev.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rev.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
I'm wonderful. I was calling today, Rev. I was listening to your morning workout this morning. And I was listening how...
You can't listen to the radio. You got to talk to me because the radio's on delay.
I was listening to you this morning on your workout, and I was listening how you were saying some people live in denial, and I wanted to call and ask, what can we as faith leaders and what can we as community organizers do to bring people back to reality?
Very good question. Thank you for your call. I think that we've got to tell people, Reverend, that the only way you're going to change a situation is you're going to have to face the situation. Realistically, you can drop out by just partying or by indulging in drinking or drugs or going on vacations if you got money. But the problem ain't going away. You know, I have friends that got money. They go to Martha's Vineyard for the summer. Some go to the Hamptons. But when they get back, it's the same situation. And it may be a lot less in their comfort accounts. So I'm saying enjoy yourself in life, but deal with reality. The same as what I was saying in my morning thoughts is deal with the reality of where you are in life. Don't live in the hurts of your past. You can't undo the past and let the hurts heal. And don't try to act like you are where you're trying to get. Be where you are and get to where you're trying to be. Embrace where you are. Embrace who you are. God made you just like he intended you to be. Your height, your race, your parents, your grandparents. That's who you are. Embrace it. Be real about it. Celebrate it. And then let it go to where it can go rather than having all that baggage that you carrying with you. I don't have no baggage. A lot happened to me in life. But I get up every day, thank God for a new day. And try every day to enjoy being Al Sharpton. And you should do the same about you. You'll be right back. Thank you for the call, Reverend. Keep it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Robert Culp used to do a show with Bill Cosby, I Spy, and he did a documentary on breadbasket, Robert Culp.
Oh, wow.
You need to see that documentary. It's great.
Absolutely.
I lived this. I didn't read this. I lived it. I was there.
You true to this?
I'm true to this.
Not new to this.
I ain't new to this.
Vote to phone Troy.
He was, Jack O'Dell was one of the guys that Kennedy warned Dr. King about. Say he was a communist.
Okay. Wow.
Jack O'Dell and Stanley Levinson. And Reverend brought him in. Nobody else in the movement would deal with Jack. Reverend brought him in.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Just us.
Just us.
But there's stories behind all of it. It didn't just happen.
But I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I may be in jail, but I am somebody. I may be uneducated, but I am somebody. Beautiful, proud. I must be respected. I must be protected. I am somebody.
Come today. I see the Reverend Jesse Jackson is here. Yes. Lord, we thank you for the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Yes. I see the Honorable Maxine Waters is here. Yes. We thank you for Maxine Waters. You see the Reverend Al Sharpton is here. Yes. We thank
So we are fighting. That's why I said to deal with this DEI situation. You must be disciplined and do studying, because unless you do structural change, we'll keep coming right back to this over and over again. I spoke Wednesday night at Yale University, and I told them students, some of those brightest students in the country, Yale, Harvard, I spoke at Yale, and told them there is a structural problem, which is why Trump and Vance and President Elon Musk, they can come in and put us backward because the structure was never corrected. They walk in the door and say NDI, because structurally they can make that stand. We've got to break the corporate world from doing it and then straighten out the structure of how this country is. Why we ought to be sending people to Congress is not sending them to Congress because they had the robocalls call your house, but they're committed to the structural change of this country. What Trump is successful on is playing on a weak structure, so he can make it go either way. It should not be so unclear that you can play the game either set away. It must be firm that you got to repair the damage done to the children of the slave and straighten out the structure that we are not 3/5 human. We are full human beings that built this country and never got paid. That's what reparations is.
There is one person who has been doing this for decades. He has been supporting our communities. He's been fighting for our communities in the trenches. He's a fighter, he's a civil rights icon, and he's a visionary. The Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you. Right now in Washington, D.C., they're having on the National Mall the celebration of July 4th. But what they will not talk about is on July 4th, 1776, black people were slaves in this country. We were not part of the Declaration of Independence. But we celebrate tonight
because 250 years later, we never stopped fighting, we never backed down, we took nothing and made something happen. If you want to celebrate something, celebrate that we built this nation on our backs and never got paid. They sing America the Beautiful. We made America beautiful. They say America the Great. We made America the Great. And we fought and we bled and we died to get the right to vote. And now Trump and them are trying to take that right. We fought too hard. We spent too many nights in jail. We will vote like we never voted before. Today, a group called the Patriots marched in Washington with Confederate flags. Well, on August 28th, Martin Luther King III and I are having a march in Washington on the day his father gave the I Have a Dream speech. I want everybody to be there. We're going to stand up and show the dignity of our people. We're going to show that we are going to never back down. We won't bend, buckle, no matter what they do in the Supreme Court. We're going to win in the court of opinion. And let me say this. Don't take for granted that you're here tonight. They tried to, in every way they could, criticize Essex, criticize Rich Lou Dennis, but they don't understand that the harder you hit us, the harder we fight back. We're the children of people that took nothing and made something happen. You can't beat us down. You can't turn us around. We will be the essence of what happens in our culture. Lastly, I've been at every Essex festival since 1995. I came that year with my mentor, and we spoke. Well, he died in February of this year, but I want to continue what he taught us, because even when times look bad, even when they look dark, I remember what my mentor taught me, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He said, keep hope alive. Even if you can't figure it out, keep hope alive. Even if it doesn't look like you can make it, keep hope alive. In memory of Jesse Jackson, say that with me tonight. Let him know on July 4th from New Orleans, keep hope alive. 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 Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Some noise for the legend.
For being in a white neighborhood in Brooklyn, I got stabbed leading one of those marches.
Keeping it real with America's #1 civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
You're live, sir.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or go to the message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And I see on the message board, Frank Ramsey says, people, let's ask Reverend Sharpton real questions, not all kinds of other stuff used to be on the air at this time. So my question to Al Sharpton will be, why did you not run for president? This world will be as we needed to do. God bless you. Okay. I didn't run for president because I ran in 22 years ago, to make sure that they didn't change the rules. I wanted to have a say-so in what was going on in terms of protecting our rights, and that's what I think I can more effectively do from National Action Network and from my media outlets like this show and Politics Nation. I think everybody should do their role, and I'm willing to support others for president. But I'm flattered you wanted me to be president. But I feel my calling is to do what I do. You know, Reverend Brother Ramsey, in the history of the civil rights movement from slavery to now, I've been blessed to have a national organization, a TV show, and a radio show all at the same time. Others before me had to beg to get on a show to get our word out. I had my own to get our word out. Nobody ever had that as consistently. I'm getting ready to end of this month celebrate 15 years as that, and 35 years as head of NAN at the same time, and 20 years on this radio show. So I think the much is given, much is required. Part of the requirement is knowing to play your role. If I ran for president, I'd have to give up the radio, TV, and NAN. And then somebody else would have to come. And even they got the radio show, I don't know if MS Now would give them the TV show. So I think I should do well where I'm at. I appreciate, though, the call. I see Pauline McCullough says Elon Musk needs to take care of those slew of children he has and stop interfering. Somebody had written that Musk has announced he's putting a lot of money into this election, and he is absolutely, whoever the caller was, we're getting a lot of messages. Okay, it's Deborah Fleming says, I heard that Elon Musk getting ready to put his money in to help the Republicans. I hope there are people to be watching him. I do believe he would try to fix and rig the midterms. I think you right. That's why we be at the march. And when we announce these voting brigades, can't wish somebody watching. We got to do it. And I'm going to tell you how we do it at the march on August 28th. Let's go to the phone. Let me go to my sister activist extraordinaire, class by herself, Sister Pam in Chicago. Sister Pam, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton. How are you and the family?
I'm doing well. Thank you. They're well.
Good. And hopefully you're on the mend as well.
Oh yeah, I'm fine. I took every precaution they told me. I'm even, I still do my workouts every morning, but I only do upper body till I'm totally healed with the knee. But I'm fine, and the pads are off, ice is off. I'm doing what they tell me to do.
Well, just in time to rev up for the march.
That's
and
right.
November election.
That's right.
Here, Reverend Sharpton. So, when you were, talking in the beginning, I thought about in Texas, they're asking Black people to be on board and to work with Talarico, and people consider him pretty moderate. So I think turnabout is fair play. In Michigan, we're asking the Democratic moderates, if Dr. Saeed is the one, then let's roll with him, and we prefer him over the Republican option.
Right.
And I hope if it makes sense for Texas, it's got to make sense for Michigan. Now I'm asking Dr. Saeed to do everything he can possibly do to bridge any gap, to address all issues, and to bring some unity.
Right.
But the moderate Democrats and donors have got to be on board, just like they ask Black people to get on board.
That's right.
That doesn't mean we can't demand what we need, but in this moment, we have to come together. And Reverend Sharpton, I want to tell you, Dr. Bernice King was here in Chicago.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You know why.
I didn't know that, yeah.
In Marquette Park, where her father, about 60 years ago, marched, and, Reverend Dr. King at the time said this was one of the most racist and just hate-filled places he had ever seen, being in the North.
Right.
And I thought about her, and I thought about people have elected I'm gonna call him the adjudicated sexual abuser. That's the title he earned. Elected him to office. I cannot fathom how she must feel. And all of the civil rights leaders who people say they died. No, they were murdered, killed, injured, and some maimed for voting rights. All of the civil rights, and you have one person with his army of hate-filled, hate-filled hearts who want to wipe it away. And you have people, black people, who voted for that. And when you try to hold them accountable, they have no excuse other than other issues. Well, abortion, transgender. Here's an option. If abortion is your problem, listen up, guys. Stop having unprotected sex. Have sex in marriage, right? Stop getting women pregnant. That's something that you have control over and that you can do.
Right.
And that certainly would decrease abortion. Don't just put it on, women. Stop raping children and women.
Mm-hmm.
And let me be very specific, Reverend Sharpton. I am not speaking to all men because I have sense enough to know that all men aren't committing those crimes and acts. But I'm just thinking logically, what creates a pregnancy, an unwanted pregnancy? And that's the intimacy between a man and a woman.
That's right.
Both have control of that. So I'm just asking men, don't get women pregnant. That makes sense to me. Abstinence for men and women, that makes sense to me. And I'm only bringing this up because we're hearing many reasons why they don't want to vote for the Democratic Party. I just heard the report. Black men are suffering under this administration.
Yes, ma'am.
Unemployment almost at 7%. Reverend Sharpton, please talk about that. Black men are hurting. And you don't think, so as black women, I shouldn't care who was in office? I'm not saying the Democratic Party is perfect, but it is what they say, a delivery system.
Right.
For political power. And we need to use it to our advantage, being in the base. I'm clear-eyed about politics, the money involved, but I'm looking at policies. And right now, this current administration hasn't produced one policy that's going to help me, but they have to hurt me. Children not eating, people, SNAP benefits gone, health care gone. You can't even get cancer research. Globally, do you know that AIDS is on the increase and people are dying? That is this administration.
That's right.
And if we don't care about that enough to come out and vote and change it, I don't know who will. This Michigan election and Texas, it's going to be vicious. And that's going to be the propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation. So check your voter registration. Let's make sure we get out in numbers. Reverend Sharpton, I know we were disappointed in the numbers that came out for Kamala Harris and Walz. I agree, because the onus is on us to come out and do what we need to do. I totally agree with that. But I also say that the Democratic Party, what are you doing about voter suppression? Because that is real. And it has to be a little bit more than overwhelming. We need some protection out there.
That's
and
right.
I thought that's what we had.
Well,
so,
I couldn't agree with you more. That's why we're going to do what we need to do, grassroots, to make sure we have brigades out there. That's part of what we're going to bring out at the march. And we're going to challenge the Democratic Party that they've got to structurally protect the votes. They still control many of the states, and I am concerned about turnout, but I'm also concerned about them stealing it at the polls. I'm talking about the Republicans. You got to have a two-pronged strategy or you're playing with yourself. So I appreciate what you said.
Thank you.
You were right on point, Pam. Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president. But we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're going to have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep agitating. And I'm going to keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time. Mariah, Chris, and your kids. And I promise you this. The only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again.
And I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes blacks. We want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight with the courts and the streets, because they're literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, which they did, started at Harvard with a black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, the ACP with the Defense Forces together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation, then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally, have no excuse in the age of what they did in Harvard not to be standing up back in this stuff.
Where in history is this? He said we always go one step forward and two backward. Well, here we are now. The problem is not Trump. The problem is us. We are allowing ourselves to be lowered and our children to feel inferior because you don't have an I am somebody person. You got our artists calling our women bees. Our others calling us niggas. What happened to us? What happened to black and proud? What happened, I'm gonna vote? What happened, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around? What happened to us?
Reverend Sharpton, how do we begin to make peace with our past?
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be permanent and that the past is the past. If we draw on the strengths of the past and uphold the dignity and the integrity of our people and then perform it at our highest level in our generation, as Dr. Moss said, that's our obligation. You know, one of the reasons that I've been so concerned about this cultural tone that we're in now is a lot of us have lost the dignity that our community has shown from Jamestown to now. I've questioned some of the artists that no longer sing to uplift us. And there's never been a generation that didn't use our music and our culture to lift us up. And the excuse is where they say, well, we just want to show what's there. But we never just accepted what was there. We always looked at what was there and looked through it and brought our people the way it needed to be. So in slavery time, we were singing Go Down Moses and Swing Low Sweet Chariot. We wasn't singing about the cotton picking nigga in the field. That's what we saw, but that's not what we sang. In slavery, in segregation time, we were singing We Shall Overcome. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We wasn't singing the hoe in the back of the bus. So where is this coming from? And that's what we need to challenge. I wish, you know, all of this about our friend Barack announced it today. I wish Obama had announced here, because Lincoln did not free us. The abolitionist movement freed us. Lincoln accommodated to freedom fighters. He was not a freedom fighter. Kennedy accommodated the king. Johnson accommodated the king. We got to quit giving the wrong people credit for our history.
So we are fighting. That's why I said to deal with this DEI situation, you must be disciplined and do study, because unless you do structural change, we'll keep coming right back to this over and over again. I spoke Wednesday night at Yale University, and I told them students, some of the brightest students in the country. Yale, Harvard.
Reverend Al Sharpton. Let's take some calls. Let's go to Germany and hear from Brother Rick today. Rick, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hello, Brother Sharpton.
How you doing?
Dizzy, but in the last 2 hours, I have been listening to Black Republican Will Martin up in Milwaukee, WNOV. He has a 1-hour show on Thursdays. This black man is running for Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin. And today he had on a guest who said to the effect that government should serve the people. Well, that's talk, political rhetoric. That's the right thing to say, but a capitalist government becomes an imperialist government. And so the middle income and the poor as people are punked day in and day out in terms of the quality of their food, in terms of affordable and quality housing, health care, jobs with benefits, that is, schools and education, and the environment, our air, our land, and our waters. You know, government agencies as watchdogs in a capitalist society, in a capitalist country, are understaffed, underfunded, and easily misdirected. And so I say to you in Black America, you must learn the difference between communism, Marxism, and socialism. And I didn't mention capitalism first because it is the worst of the four systems. Capitalism is reality around the world. People have been trading and people have been wealthy for thousands of years. But also, kings, queens, and emperors know that if they don't take care of the people will overthrow them. And so in America you have a poison food system to keep the people from revolting. Brother man, I'm done.
All right, thank you for your call from Germany. Let's go to our live line. Our co-host every Thursday for Policy Day is the CEO of the Protestant Welfare Agencies of New York. She is the vice chairman of the board of the National Board of the National Action Network. And, of course, I'm not saying that's just not a title. She works every day doing National Action Network stuff as she runs the Federation of Protestant Welfare Agencies, and now as she's taken on the chairman of the New York Civilian Complaint Review Board, which is a national model on that. She's taken it to the next level. And, of course, some of you all saw her on Politics Nation last weekend. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. How you doing, Jenny?
I'm doing all right, sir. Honored. Always honored to be with you all, and thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for being with us. I think that Rick from Germany brought up a line of conversation I wanted to have with you, and that is that the Michigan race, where the progressive won, and I think that it was much closer than everybody thought. They had projected he was going to win by 15%. He won by about 1%. And a lot of the black vote went to the moderate. And then when you look at the race in St. Louis for Congress, where you had the progressive trying to recapture her seat, and she went all out and lost. She lost by 20%. What do you see as, if anything, as the trends that comes out of this primaries, the primaries on Tuesday, and where we can use those trends to go in a collective way of empowerment. I'm trying to say my words carefully because I give an example of one where a moderate won the black congressional seat over someone who used to be that congressperson who's very progressive, and another where the progressive won, but he only won by 1%. How should we view all of this, Jenny?
So, I think in some ways what we're seeing and what we're witnessing is not very different from Trump when he first won in 2016 and possibly even in 2024. Now, this is what I'm saying. It's not that the politics are the same, but the narrative and the way to capture people, I think you can find some commonalities. And where I'm going with this is that essentially what Trump did was he said he told everybody he was going to make their lives better. And he told them that the reason that they weren't faring well is because other people were taking things from them. And what he got people to think is that he could actually affect something new, something different, or a return to America where America was, like overtly racist, where you could say white people deserve jobs more than black people did, that white people deserved a better education than black people did. So he tapped into something within people feeling like they were struggling and not having a reason why. What I think is happening right now, and I'm not even speaking to, whether or not the progressive way is the best way, more socialism is the better way, more centrist democracy is the best way. But what I'm getting at is, I think the person in the moment who's able to help others see that they understand their pain, right, and they want to do something about it, that's what's resonating. So we had in Michigan a progressive who talked about how we've got to unite and we've got to figure out how to give everybody rights that people in unions have. And he spoke to how that would help to give them greater collective bargaining power. And so while everybody didn't buy into it, more people than fewer. He gave a narrative of, I'm trying to help everybody succeed. And more people than fewer people bought into that narrative. But then you have more centrist Democrats who say, I believe in affordability. I believe that we've got to do more to cut down on the cost of goods and services. We've got to look at taxes and the like. And people will buy into that. And so one of the things that is happening, we saw it in earlier primaries this year. We saw it in the 2025 election cycle in Virginia and in New Jersey. They weren't progressive Democrat governor candidates. They were more centrist, but they had a message about affordability and what they were going to do about it. The short of it is, I think people are looking for people to tell them what they're going to do about the affordability crisis. And whoever's got the better narrative, that's holding out.
Let's take a break. Be right back. Keep it real. Shopton. Be right back. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
We have a short visit today, so we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's
one of those flavors.
Good to see you again, sir. It's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you
you.
been?
Doing fine. Good.
Right, last time. And we,
Alexander Shaw. How many slaves were staying here?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have a slave.
Yeah, that's when exactly. That was exactly. The two people that most influenced my life were from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went over his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket.
Wow.
To South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James.
Yeah.
Civil rights, showbiz.
But also where your people from too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And when I knew Jesse was from James, I started president.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about him in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they came to do the story for February of 07. They came to me in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and helped him push the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told me, you know that my great-grandfather was a slave about 45, because Greenville right up to I-20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. But no. Look at everything. I went a couple of nights to go to the Knicks game. They lost. Last night I said, I'm not even going down there. I'm going to go to bed. I got to fly to Hampton on to Chicago. And by halftime I said, man, they ain't going to win this game. They down 29 points. And somebody here today, you've been down. They counted you out. People say there's no way you come back. But I come to tell you, don't quit. For there's another half to play. And God will take you and let you win when the odds are against you. I know they're talking about you, but preach anyhow. I know sometimes the pews are empty, but preach anyhow. And when you get up almost where you could win, I looked at it last night and Brunson took the shot. It looked like it was going in to win the game, but the shot hit the rim and all hope was gone. But then an African named Boyd OG just stretched through the crowd and he kicked in the winning shot. If you hold on, God will tip your win.
But Reverend, it looks bad now. Look at Iran. Look at what's going on in Minnesota. Look on. Yeah, but I was raised by them to realize that after storms, if we do the right thing in the storm, if we organize, if we register, if we do what we're supposed to do, there's always a rainbow coming out. The rainbow don't show until the storm is over. The rainbow gonna come out in November. The rainbow gonna come out in 28. We gonna fix these tricks in 26 and march through the gates in 28. We didn't come this far to turn around now. We won't go back. We won't go back. Real, I'm your host.
We won't go back.
Reverend Al Sharpton. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host, as she is every Thursday for the last 90 minutes of the show. And I see on our message board, Tricia writes, Tricia 1989 writes, Attorney Jones Austin, never in a million years would I have ever imagined we would be talking about the reflecting pool. I guess it's a reflection of how low we have fallen. I think Tricia is right on point. In fact, you know, the march, somebody was saying to me the other night, Reverend Al, I'm going with you on August 28th because I want to redeem the Lincoln Memorial because that's where the controversy is. Because that was right there where Dr. King had made that historic speech, and now Trump done reduced it to the reflected pool. We got to go back and reclaim it. I said, I never thought about that way. We're going back there to deal with voting rights and dealing with our DEI and dealing with our health care. But we also, while we're there, we're going to reclaim the land where King and others in 1963 started the dream that has been desecrated with this foolishness with Trump trying to criminalize somebody that his own non-bid contractors did. So that is something providential that we're going to that scene, Jenny.
I like her thinking, and I think you were spot on for leaning into it. You know, reflection is reflection. The reflection pool is to actually take a look at yourself, right? And I think that this reflection pool, on the first point that you made, this is a reflection of this entire administration, and not just 2025 to the present, but let's also go back to 2017 to 2020. Just misstep after misstep, fraudulent activities one after the next, just like ugliness, just like everything that this nation supposedly was striving to be less of after the civil rights movement, and really seeing itself and leaning into and trying to make amends with the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, and trying to bring it forward, affirmative action, DEI. And now it's all rolled back. And so I think that the reflection pool the reflection pool itself actually being dysfunctional right now, having been screwed up, is a reflection of what has been happening over the course of the last several years.
Absolutely.
And that notion of reclaiming, going back to that ground, which is in some ways, if we will, it is sacred ground because it's where Black Americans and white Americans and others came together and said, we are going to be more than what we are. And we are going to treat all people with decency, dignity, civility, and respect. And we got to go back and get that.
Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Northwest Atlanta. My friend D. D, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and Jones Austin.
Hi, Reverend Al and Attorney Austin. And it was nice seeing you this weekend, Attorney Austin, on Reverend Al's show. Reverend Al, two things. Yeah, oh, hey, you're a cutie.
I'm smiling.
Two things that I want to bring up. One is, and I'm a Democrat, and I'm a proud Democrat, but I have a problem with the way Democrats are allowing others to define the party. Reverend Al, I was sitting right here in this same house, and I remember watching TV when you gave your address to the at the Democratic convention when you were running for president, and you said that you did not agree with all the things that the Republicans were doing, and you certainly you disagree with most of what the Republicans were doing. You certainly did not agree with all the things that the Democrats represented, but you were going to ride that donkey as far as you could.
Yeah, you got me right. I sure said it.
You said that, and I will never forget that. I am doing the same thing, Reverend L. But I have a problem with the Democrats allowing the media and other people to define them, whether they're socialist Democrats or liberals or progressives or what have you. We need to define ourselves and not allow others to do that. I saw you the other day also when somebody was calling this new guy in Michigan a communist, and you said, oh, no, he needs to go out and tell them that he represents the common people. You see, I've been paying attention to you.
Yeah,
right
you
now.
sure have. You sure been watching.
So we need to stop that. I also have a problem with Bernie Sanders. He has a lot to do and a lot to say about what happens in the Democratic Party, and he's not a Democrat.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we keep allowing him. And I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of the things that he stands for, because the young folk in my family, they seem to love him, although I think he cost Hillary the presidency. And I don't want him. I'm just wondering, just really, if he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. I have a problem. I got a question mark. Let's just say that, okay?
All right.
So please discuss that if you get a chance. And I want to thank Sister Pam, because she always brings it. Thank you, Reverend L.
All right, thank you,
Sister Austin.
Thank you. I think that Pam certainly did, but also Sister D raised a critical question, Attorney Jones Austin, and that is that unless there is some kind of healing of the differences, or at least coming to where there is operational unity, Trump's forces will win again. And it is going to be clear that if they can maintain their majority in the House of Representatives and the Senate, there'll be no checks and balances on Trump. So whether we consider ourselves moderate, progressive, it's a matter of do we allow them to stay in power. That is a threat to all of us. And I really, I've got to go with D with that. I have real suspicions for those that are just so adamant that it's got to be their way or nothing, and let us die on the sword rather than find a way that we can all survive together. I just don't understand. Yeah. I won't even say that. I used to say I don't understand that logic. Now I'm saying I don't trust people that talk like that.
I think that we all need to be looking more suspectly at a lot of these candidates who know by holding a hard and fast line that is, and I'm just going to call it sometimes like so ultra left, that it has the potential to do us in. Keep in mind that the Democrats, there's the full spectrum, and they don't stick together the way that the Republicans do. Republicans understand the long game. They understand that we better stick together, go with one line. We see it right now playing out in Congress with this president. A lot of them don't agree with what Trump has done. I'm not going to say that they disagree with everything, but they question some of the things that he's doing, some of the ways that he's showing up. But they will stick together because it keeps their Republican base and together with them. But it also has helped them to keep the power and the authority. Democrats will break up into fractions. I remember years ago I had a conversation with my husband, and we were talking about the minimum wage. And he said, think about the fact that the minimum wage has been the same minimum wage, $7.25, since the mid-2000s, early in the first decade of the 21st century. He said, we've had Democrat and Republican presidents. He said, we've had Democrat-controlled presidency and Congress, and that minimum wage hasn't moved. He said, you got to remember, some people don't want even in your own party, for everybody to necessarily have a higher wage. They feel what that might do for business. The point I'm making is Republicans will stand tight together. Democrats will go into their respective corners, and then they'll duke it out, and then we get nowhere.
Absolutely right. Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WURD, the word. Go to Brother Jacob. Brother Jacob.
Peace be unto you, Reverend Sharpton, and to your guest, Sister Austin. Very intelligent black woman, I'm telling you. You know, I just love to hear her, you know, her speak on anything that comes up. But, you know, Reverend Al, I knew of you 20 years ago, Reverend Al. But when I started watching when you were running for president in the debates, and I said to myself, I said, well, darn, Reverend Al is of the best on that stage with what, you know, your proposals, what you were saying, your question, you know, everything. You was standing tall, brother. And I say to you, you've been there, done that. We need you where you is right now, brother, where God placed you. So, you know, you stay right there. But, you know, Rev, in Philadelphia, yes, there was a group in Philadelphia, Rev, that had a tune said, got my mind made up. You know, I forget the name of the group. It's on the tip of my tongue, but they was out of Philadelphia, and the song was saying, I got my mind made up. Now, look, if we ain't got our mind, I don't care what label you wear, and I keep hearing progressive, independent, this, that. Right now, what America do we really want as a people? That's what it comes to. And any black person that we have to really coax into coming away from this Republican leadership that then showed us what they working with, taking our vote, taking our rights, don't want us to be. You mean to tell me I got to hold up a sign like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did and tell them I am a man? So I got, in other words, there is no choice for black people right now, for real, you know. And I pray this, that the progressives don't get in the Democratic Party and do what the Tea Party people did to the Republican Party, made it just a hot mess, okay? By just getting in there and throwing monkey wrenches. We don't need that. And in November, you know, we really only got two things that we going with. That's the regime that we got in there now, that everybody, even MAGA, y'all see what y'all working with. Ain't nobody playing no games now. Reverend Al's show is keeping it real. And if you can't see the reality of the hardship that this man has put America in by shaming it all over the world, right? And if you can't see that, you blind. And black people, if you support that, you either ignorant or you dead or you a fool, because it shouldn't be that hard for you to do what you got to do. So, I mean, again, what we gonna do in November? And I don't see you either with what's happening now, and you see that, or you with something different, which is the Democratic Party. And of course, progressives ain't gonna come in and take over nothing, because the Democrats do, they have the foundation. And if I'm building, I want to build on a strong foundation, which I think the Democratic Party is. You don't go reinventing the wheel, right? So y'all keep on doing what you do, as Reverend Joe Williams from Philadelphia here, Dixie Hummingbird say. Y'all just keep on doing what we do, and we going to pray on it and keep working, right?
That's right. Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Shopton. Be right back. Keeping it real. Well, thank you, President Dr. Kimber, and to all of you on the board. I wanted to personally make this appeal from National Action Network and Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, that we've been moving around the country organizing to deal with the question of redistricting when they have use the Supreme Court now to redraw lines that will, in many ways, break up majority black voting districts. It means that they dilute the strength of our community. It will cost probably 19 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. But as important, if not more important, it will not address the needs of those constituents because they don't have a block vote to say we're going to put in somebody that wants to do what is right for us or not. And that does not necessarily all the time mean a black person, but it gives them power. In Memphis, Tennessee, the majority black district congressman supported and reelected several times by the blacks there was a white man named Cohen. So we see this as an undoing of the Voting Rights Act of 65 and the Civil Rights Act of 64. So on August 28th, we've asked people from around the country to join us in Washington, D.C. for a mass march. We've had some marches and rallies in Mississippi, some in Montgomery and Selma, but we need a national march led by the clergy, led by the faith leaders, like it was in the 60s, that will say it is a moral outrage that we would, in a time like this, disenfranchise wholesale black voters by repealing the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and by turning the time back. We've heard from a lot of groups, but we need this to be church-led. National Action Network is appealing to you, the president. Reverend Dr. Boise Kim has been on our board for years and knows this well, and the many of you that are on the board. But we need to send a national message in a peaceful, nonviolent gathering led by the clergy, along with Dr. King's son, along with his daughter-in-law, and along with other leaders. But it's time to dramatize it. We see the No Kings March. We see everybody out there rallying. Where's our voice when we're the ones being disenfranchised? We're the ones being attacked. And I think that if we would stand up, the people will step up because the people understand the gravity of the hour. And I think that we are called upon at this point in history to do what those leaders of the black church did before our time and in our childhood. So I thank you, President Kimball, for giving me an opportunity to make the appeal to the board itself. You have the information. We're going to have buses from all over the country. Those churches that have buses, we give information. Those that don't, we're willing to help supply them. But we need to show a big number right in the nation's capital. History should not say they stripped us of everything and there was not a national response led by the black church. Thank you very much for these few minutes.
This is the first Thanksgiving I'm here in New York. Over 20 years. I'm just glad to be here with Rev today and to hand out the food. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
It's Erica Ford, the Peace Doctor in the building. Here at the National Action Network, it's about thanks. It's about giving. It's about gratitude. It's about love. I feel it is important for you to understand that there's work out here to be done, but it starts with gratitude, it starts with giving, it starts with peace, it starts with love. Let's go.
Before we feed our family, we got to make sure that we feed the community. That's right. That's what it's all about. We got to come with sharp phones. You come and you make sure you show up, serve the community. That's what it's all about.
I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones, who became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones, and too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their home, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what are you doing National Action Network?
I formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughters started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself. Questioning your statement. You can question mine. You can question any statement I make. You can question any statement. Whoa. You can question any statement I make, but you cannot call here and tell me don't question the statement you make, brother.
Brother's gonna work it out. Be a part of the conversation. Just keep it real. Live from the National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York, keeping it real. And now, America's #1 civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. Attorney Jones Austin, the Senate committee this morning voted at the behest of Senator Rand Paul to hold Dr. Fauci in contempt for pleading the fifth in his testimony a couple of days ago before the committee. Explain to us the legalities or the misuse of legalities or illegalities, whatever the appropriate term would be, and explain to us why the use of pleading the fifth for protective reasons.
So, just a quick background. What's happening here is Dr. Fauci, who was essentially the country's doctor during COVID, he's the one who essentially called for us to actually go to be shut down, that we needed to, isolate. And he was the one who was calling for masks as a preventive measure. The Republicans, beginning with Trump, felt like that's in part what cost an election because it didn't look like they were handling COVID well. We had inflation, all this. Remember, Trump wanted to keep the schools open, keep the churches open. He didn't believe in masks. And so there's a bit of a vendetta. And what Biden did before he left office on his last day of office, he gave Fauci a pardon that began during that would cover the period in the COVID years all the way through January 2025. And what he knew was that Trump was going to come after Fauci. And essentially with his vindictive prosecutions or efforts at it, he would try to take Fauci down. So now what has happened is Fauci has been called in by the Senate Judiciary Committee for questioning concerning the events of COVID. And what they're saying is, you got a pardon from the president. And so therefore, you shouldn't risk, you're not risking being prosecuted because once you are pardoned, you cannot be prosecuted for what you've been pardoned for. The challenge is they may ask questions of him that, are not directly covered specifically by the pardon. Or they'll try to get him to implicate himself in ways that have, that weren't covered by the pardon. Or they could try to, suggest that maybe things he says or did could have impact in other states, federally and in other states, and the pardon only applies to the federal. So what Fauci has done is he's taken the fifth. He is, the fifth. Anything that I say in a court of law or before judicial proceeding cannot be used against me, right? And so essentially, I'm going to plead the fifth because I don't want anything to be used against me, right? And let me say, I backed up. Let me correct that. The fifth says anything anything I could say may be used against me, so I'm not going to say anything. So he actually did that better than 100 times with the questions that they asked him. And now they've thrown him into contempt because what they're saying is, you got a pardon, so you didn't risk being prosecuted. And so you were required by law to answer the questions. This is actually kind of new law or new territory for law for decision making. It's not 100% certain whether he could face prosecution or he could not. It's not 100% certain that he had a right to actually plead the fifth because he'd already been pardoned. And so this is something that may actually ultimately be litigated, but he's got very good reason to take the fifth because what they're looking to do is to find something that he says or he did that they could say falls outside of the presidential pardon that he got. They're trying to get him to trip himself up, to say something today that differs from what he said during the pandemic. And then maybe that's something that falls outside of the presidential pardon. He knows that they're trying to get him and they're trying to send him to prison. And so he's taken the fifth. And now it's going to have to be adjudicated as to whether or not the presidential pardon actually gave him the ability to plead the fifth or whether or not he was required to answer questions. They're saying he should have answered questions because the pardon covered him and he couldn't be prosecuted. But if he says something that falls outside of that pardon, he can be prosecuted.
Wow. All right, let me ask you a second question. I'm going back to the phones. 1-877-532-5797. The entire question that we're facing, it was referred to a little while ago on this whole reflection pool, where Jeanine Pirro had, as the U.S. attorney, indicted several people for being responsible for physically damaging the pool, the reflection pool. At the behest of President Trump, he put out some photos where he said they did it. She indicted them, and now she dropped the charges, saying there was no evidence to support it. Two-part question, and he's mad. He's saying there was evidence. He has pictures. He has not removed her as of yet, but he stands by what he said, and that they should have remained under indictment. Two-part question. If there's no evidence now of the persons that were accused and indicted for cutting up the pool, the side walls of the pool, then what evidence could they have presented to the grand jury to get an indictment in the first place? Because, now you're a lawyer, that's why I'm asking. I thought you had to present some evidence to the grand jury to get an indictment. I know that the defense can't talk, but I didn't know you can get an indictment on no evidence. And if you had evidence, then how did you have it in the grand jury and don't have it now?
Well, what's so crazy about this is that, Donald Trump just does what Donald Trump does, and he sees how far it can take him. Because when Jeanine Pirro came out and reversed, direction, and she essentially moved to dismiss the case, saying that, there wasn't evidence to support that he had actually caused the damage, but that the damage had already been done by the initial contractor work. When she goes to dismiss, he then President Trump counters, and essentially he's talking about like how she choked. He uses his words. He says she choked on this case. He said that she made a big mistake. She actually came back after him. Now she may be treading on she may be walking, like treading lightly, because she came back and she defended her own decision, saying that the government had actually withheld what is termed exculpatory evidence that would have cleared the defendants. She's saying that they actually withheld that evidence when they went to get the indictment.
Wow.
And so this is speaking to your point, Reverend Sharpton. This is it's what we saw, what they did with Tish James, where essentially so when you go to a grand jury, there is no prosecution defense. There is no counter. It is the prosecution trying to make its case and giving the grand jury enough evidence to figure out, well, is there enough here to strongly suggest or indicate that somebody committed a crime? And what Jeanine Pirro is saying is that the federal government, when they went and moved forward to bring these charges against these persons in connection with the reflection pool, they knew they were withholding evidence that could have cleared the defendants. So she's clapping back at Trump, defending what she's done here, because she's actually finally somebody like, I'm upholding the law. I can't prosecute somebody where there's no evidence, and the evidence that is here would clear them.
Rodney Jones, the mayor, just popped on message board saying Judge Saul Watler, who used to be the chief judge of the state of New York, said you can indict a ham sandwich. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to James in Atlanta, Georgia.
Take a break.
Wait a minute, James. I'll come right back to you. Have to take my break. Keeping it real. Shopton, Jones, Austin. Be right back. So we are fighting. That's why I said to deal with this DEI situation, you must be disciplined and do study, because unless you do structural change, we'll keep coming right back to this over and over again. I spoke Wednesday night at Yale University, and I told them students, some of those brightest students in the country, Yale, Harvard, I spoke at Yale, and told them there is a structural problem, which is why Trump and Vance and President Elon Musk
they can come in and put us backward because the structure was never corrected. They walk in the door and say NDI, because structurally they can make that stand. We've got to break the corporate world from doing it and then straighten out the structure of how this country is. Why we ought to be sending people to Congress is not sending them to Congress because they had the robocalls call your house, but they're committed to the structural change of this country. What Trump is successful on is playing on a weak structure, so he can make it go either way. It should not be so unclear that you can play the game either set away. It must be firm that you got to repair the damage done to the children of the slave and straighten out the structure that we are not 3/5 human. We are full human beings that built this country and never got paid. That's what reparations is.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, "The two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born." I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustling, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say,
you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say, you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old. Went to jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
Keep the dream alive on Wall Street.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
I'll tell you that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here.
I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Let's go to James in Atlanta, Georgia. James, you're on with Al Sharpton and Attorney Jennifer Jones-Austin.
Yes, Reverend Sharpton, Attorney Austin. Reverend Sharpton, I would like to comment on Attorney Benjamin Crump. But preface that, I must say that congratulations, Attorney Austin, on your appointment as chairman of the board for the Review Board in New York. Hello.
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 Yeah, well, we're here.
Anyway, congratulations on that.
Jenny, are you with
I've
us?
had to deal with that.
Thank you. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
I
Yes,
don't know
I
if
can
you're
hear you.
able to hear me. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I've had to
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I've had to deal with our Atlanta Review Board once a few years ago, so congratulations on that. And Reverend Sharpton, may I, no offense, but Attorney Austin does make you look good every time she's on politics.
That ain't offensive
offense
to
on
me.
that.
That between you and I, maybe that's why I have her on often.
Guy.
Always enjoy it. Attorney Crump, he was on the local show here in Atlanta, WAOK, on the On Point with Wendell and Stokes show a couple of days ago. And he mentioned civil rights leaders. He mentioned you, Martin Luther King, and also Ida B. Wells of Mississippi. And then speaking of Ida B. Wells, he also mentioned some other cases that are similar to the Nolan Wells case. That's what he was speaking on. And regarding Ida B. Wells, I'm wondering that, she was born into slavery in Mississippi, Holly Springs, Mississippi.
Right.
And she graduated from Russ College, the second or third oldest HBCU in Mississippi. She was a civil rights activist. I'm hearing from the grapevine, I wonder if you know of this, I'm hearing through the grapevine that the Nolan Wells, his family, may be relatives or descendants of Ida B. Wells. Are you familiar with this?
I'm not familiar with that. I've not heard that, but I am certainly going to guarantee I'm going to call and ask them. Very interesting. Very possible. Yep. Very possible.
I'm wondering because you're looking at the civil rights activists of the early 1900s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And in a way, Nolan Wells, his case as Attorney Crump, alluded to, his case may be bringing attention to other cases, and also how the autopsies are handled and organs are handled, with the forensic pathologist. So he himself may be an activist in his own way, from the other side of the belt.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering if that.
I think that is very true about where he will end up in history. But we're going to be persistent. He won't get there without us continuing this fight. But I'll look into that. Thank you for your call. Let's go to Cleveland, Ohio. It's Policy Day, WERE, to Todd. Todd.
Hey, Reverend Al Sharpton, Jennifer Jones, Austin.
Yes, sir.
So I want to clean up a few things, errors that I made last week, and then I have a question to the two of you in reference to candidates running for office without stating clearly to the public what they understand the available tax dollars are for their particular pursuits prior to them getting into office. But here are the things I wanted to clean up. Last week when I mentioned we should have a conversation nationwide about Liberia becoming a state, and one of the reasons that I used was as we move into the 22nd century, the United States is going to need to issue statehood in order to move forward. What I should have added was in a healthy and strengthening way. That's what I mean. We're going to move forward with or without another state, but in a healthy, strengthening way, we should acknowledge that it's in our best interest to add another state in the African continent would be the good idea. I said that Alabama had 3 or 5 in the House of Representatives. They actually have 7. And if Liberia was a state, they would have 7 as well, probably more than that because so many people would want to move to a tropical climate that is 43,000 square miles. And when I said that, when I compared it to Ohio in land mass, because they're close, Ohio's 44,000, Liberia's 43,000 square miles. I then said Ohio was the 7th biggest state. I was talking about population. Ohio's the 7th most populous state. So an exit to that for today anyway. Liberia manages their debt well. They're somewhere around in the 40s as far as countries on the African continent as far as the strength of their general gross domestic product. So that puts them pretty good range for what I was suggesting as far as becoming statehood. And they managed their debt well. But the only thing that I think would be of major concern, other than the obvious, a lot of folks aren't going to want a black nation to become a black state like that. They have a high poverty level. and that's going to put a strain on our Social Security system and some of our other social economic systems that are set for the poor. But that's going to change real quick once they got into statehood, and it's not going to be an overnight thing anyway. So, having said that, we have candidates that have won these primaries that have not given direct conversation about what they understanding about the tax money available for their pursuits. Is this something that you two take issue with when somebody comes in pushing to be a candidate and pushing to be take a taxpayer-funded employment, and they don't talk directly about what they understand about tax dollars available for their pursuits?
Jenny, you there? I think we lost Jenny. I mean, I think that my
Sir, I'm here.
okay.
I'm here.
Go ahead.
I'm here. I just wondered if we can quickly go. Can we, sir? Is it okay to go back to the question about Liberia? Because I guess the question I have is, and I'm not as familiar about this as maybe both of you are, but why would Liberia become a state when it was actually created for the purpose of Americans who wanted to return to Africa? Like, help me to understand the logic, the why.
Liberia, because of its landmass, its population,
Yes.
and its long history with the United States, would give optimum protection for the American capitalist pursuit, because we would have shown the African nations that we're invested in the nurturing of that continent through us issuing statehood for that purpose.
but issuing statehood, first of all, most African nations and Ghana, Kenya, I mean, go on and on.
South Africa, yeah.
Well, no. South Africa.
Well, South Africa's the front runner on the continent.
No, I think if you let me, I'll make my point. You can make yours. Ghana, Kenya, and others fought against being colonized. South Africa was not colonized. South Africa was run by Afrikaners internally. That's what I'm saying. Let me make my point. And so why would you say Africa would embrace it? Africa would not embrace a state of the United States. That's returning back to their being colonized. Why would I think that it would be more welcomed by Africa as a continent and leaders, and I talked to heads of states in Africa, if the United States increased their trade and aid with the existing African countries, not trying to make them a state under the United States.
Well, keep in mind, I'm answering the question. Keep in mind, I'm not saying make them. I'm saying in the sense that push them to it, which is what colonization was. What I'm saying is they could consider, as American citizens consider, the value of it overall to the nation of Liberia and to the nation of the United States. Being a state is not colonization. Being a state means you get 2 senators, and based on your population,
it is colonization. It is colonization because you still lose your sovereignty. You lose your sovereignty. You don't have your you're going to lose your Congress, your government, your president to report to 2 members of the United States Congress. That's a loss of your self-government. Hold on a minute. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Shopton, Jones Austin. Be right back. Keeping it real. I was talking about when your father was here, King. Me and Jesse, when he came to go speak at the UN, he said, I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo.
I've been the Area Essex Festival since 1995. I came that year with my mentor, and we spoke. Well, he died in February this year, but I want to continue what he taught us, because even when times look bad, even when they look dark, I remember what my mentor taught me, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He said, keep hope alive. Even if you can't figure it out, keep hope alive. Even if it doesn't look like you can make it, keep hope alive. In memory of Jesse Jackson, say that with me tonight. Let him know on July 4th from New Orleans, keep hope alive. 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 Thank you, God.
It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you're qualified and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much. I love you very much.
Voting rights.
Everyone look here.
Say it again, Ms. Pearl.
Voting rights.
Voting rights. One more time, Ms. Pearl.
Voting rights.
There we go.
Voting rights. Voting rights.
Voting rights.
Voting rights.
Voting rights.
When do we want it? Now. When do we need it?
Now. Yesterday.
What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we need it?
Now.
What do we want?
Voting rights.
When do we need it?
Now.
Stretching itself to billions to billions gives a sense of value. Our history is worthless. We're not a worthless people. We're not a people that are just some ghetto drugs. You know, sometimes we are places that we were destined. And this one shows us that we are.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is our co-host. Don't forget, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday and Sunday, and I'm lining up some guests now. Certainly which way the Democratic Party is going or should go will be among my guests with some of the senators and governors, but I also want to deal with the whole case of voting rights as we lead up to the march. One of the things I'm proud of, Jenny, you are vice chairman of the board, is that in the last 26 years, National Action Network has led the and sponsored the marches on Washington commemorating since 2000, 26 years, and has raised the money, put the people there. And those marches have led to legislative change. Barack Obama said that it was our movement that caused him to deal coming out of Ferguson with the policing that he did, which for the first time put cameras on police. It was our march with Mrs. King in 2000 that led to racial profiling law. A lot of people talk. We can show racial profiling laws, end and stop and frisk, real concrete change, not just making speeches. And that's what we want to do on the 28th of August. So I want you to watch Politics Nation Saturday and Sunday as we prepare countdown to the march, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You that are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, be at the House of Justice Saturday morning, 9 to 11. Try to get there early, get a good seat. 9 to 11, you that are not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television. And you can also watch it on nationalactionnetwork.net, nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can go to our YouTube/NAN, or you can go to AME Zion Network. Let me also say that you that are not signed in for the march, that want to organize a bus, want to get on a bus, whatever you want to do, go to nationalactionnetwork.net, nationalactionnetwork.net, or call the toll-free number, and that is 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. Let me go back to you, Todd, and Jenny will weigh in. What I'm saying is that to say that Liberia should become the 51st state is to say, I think the president of Liberia's name is Bokai. I met him. You're no longer president. You can be a senator to us. I mean, that is recolonization. You can't. I mean, with somebody, where did y'all have on the message board? Somebody said that Africa has been a sovereign state since 1847. All of a sudden, you're going to just take that from them and put them under the United States government? And you don't call that colonialism?
Not take. Leave it open for discussion and maneuver in that direction through the free will of the citizens of Liberia and the citizens of the United States. Texas was its own republic. It did not come into the United States as a colony. It came in as a state, and it's worked out great for the United States.
And they wanted to come in. Ain't nobody in Liberia asked to be a state of the United States?
No.
What I'm suggesting is leave it open for discussion so that maybe they may see the benefits of it and do as Texas did do.
But what I'm saying is I don't see the benefits of it. So maybe I'm not the one you want in that discussion. Maybe I mean, you got to tell me and a lot of other folks here, probably Jenny too, what is the benefits for them?
Yeah.
Let
me just jump in, but let me ask
I'm trying
you.
to answer the question, but go ahead.
No, but wait, let me just say this to you so you can answer both of us. I get, like, I hear your argument about capitalism and the strengthening, but tell me this. Why would people who determined to leave a country, freed Americans who said, I don't want to be a part of a system, of a government, of a society that essentially treats us as second-class citizens? Why would I want to be a part of a society that has determined that it is okay to actually bring back in full effect all of the laws, the structures, and the standards that work to demean, devalue, belittle, treat as second, third, fourth-class citizens persons of African descent? Why would I want to be a part of that country?
Right.
Why would I think, if I am currently in a sovereign state, that coming over to America and actually turning myself over and giving all of my independence over to a country that has never shown any true love, care, and concern for people of African descent? Why would I do that?
Right.
Because you would come in with the same influence as any other state in the country. You would gain your leader would not be a senator. That your leader will become a governor. You would have.
And how much can governors do now under Trump? How much can governors now do under Trump? If you're a senator in a minority party, you are like the Democrats are right now. Governor Hochul in New York, the governors around this, Governor Westmore, are not getting what they want out of the federal government. That's just not factually correct.
Some of them are.
And some of them aren't. And some of them aren't. But that you're asking a sovereign country to give up its freedom and sovereignty to maybe be one of 51 states and maybe get something done. Why would I do that?
Your trade opportunities would increase, and your social economic security.
How?
Because American businesses and American government work best with people that they share land mass with, and they would be sharing.
Then why do we have an
affordability?
Why do we have an affordability crisis in the 50 states that we do have land mass with? Why are we having an affordability?
Why would I trust a government? But wait, Todd, why would I trust a government that isn't taking care of its own presently?
Exactly.
Well,
why would I trust a government, right?
That's not true.
That is, no, it is true. Why would I trust a government that still today in black communities starve those communities of basic resources that allow the entire population to thrive? Why would I trust a government where the funding for education, where the funding for health care, access to quality health care for black Americans is abysmal? Why would I trust a government where wage inequity persists when it comes to black Americans versus white Americans? Why would I trust a government where the incarceration for black Americans is 5 times the rate of white Americans? Why would I trust a government where they have sought to essentially ensure that environmental challenges for black Americans go unaddressed compared to white Americans? Why would I want to do that?
Can I address it? Being socioeconomically poor in the United States still puts you socially economic in a better position than the vast majority of the people of the planet Earth. Now, I'm not saying that you should want to be poor in the United States, but being poor in comparison to the rest of the world in the United States is doing pretty good. And as far as the education system in the United States, our education system is primarily struggling because of its poor participation of the people in the neighborhoods, the public education system. Our universities are doing great, and I'm referencing our public universities, not the private ones. Our public universities are doing great. So I'm just saying, what I'm saying in this is that this is not an issue of colonization. This is an issue of statehood, and I'm not saying something should happen overnight, nor am I saying it should be forced. I am saying, though, if it's done correctly, and it can be done correctly, by the 22nd century, Liberia could be in the same type of position that Texas is, which is being the front runner in social economic support and tax contributions.
Where you have more brutality and more unfairness to blacks than most states in the union. And I know that I have 3 members of our board that Jenny co-chairs that are from Texas, and believe me, they would not tell Liberia or anybody else they want to be like Texas. But, you know, Jenny, your father, Reverend Dr. William Augustus Jones, rebaptized me a Baptist. I'd been baptized at 3, a Pentecostal, and then when I was older and had been under your father in breadbasket, I became baptized a Baptist. But before I left the Pentecostals, we used to tell people on radio, put your hand on the radio, and we pray for them. Todd, put your hand on the radio. You need prayer. You really do, because the logic you coming with this is you need prayer. But thank you for your call.
You're not absorbing.
I am absorbing it. I gave you 2 weeks and you won't get it out of your system. I just think, Jenny, that it is totally irrational to try and tell people that they will be better off than having their own country, their own sovereignty, to be the 51st something of yours, that the people that look like you ain't treated right in that country. And I gave Todd 2 weeks to say it. I hope he comes, because he usually comes up with something decent. But that one is just, I do not understand it. All right, I hear the music got to go. Let me thank Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you perfectly and personally. Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.